welcome to Heartland Darkland. I'm Cassie.
And I'm Shannon.
Hey, Dark
Hey,
Hearts.
Dark Hearts.
It's been a while.
Yeah. It's
I
been
like how we're just talking over each other. It's fine.
I know. It's fine. It's hard to tell, it's fine. There's a slight delay, so it's okay. Maybe it will pan out okay. Anyway, well, we're back. How is everybody? We hope everyone had a good summer-ish.
Yeah. Hope you guys got to enjoy some time. I did nothing. It was a lot of kids asking me what we were doing today. My daughter did summer school and she loved it for a month, but then all of July she was out. She was real sad about that. So we did a lot of stuff.
She likes to go to summer school. Kids don't want to go to regular school.
She loves all school. So
that's amazing. Get it, girl.
Yeah, we walked into back to school night and she was just like, "Hey, so and so. Hey, so and so. Hey." I'm like, "A girl."
She's all excited.
Who don't you know?
Yeah, that's funny. That's amazing. Good for her.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So, how was your summer?
It was fine. It was a lot of just random, a lot of pool days, a lot of what are we doing todays as well, and a lot of just no routine, staying up way too late, sleeping too late. We did go to California, and that was super fun. But other than that's pretty much summed it up. Just a lot of I don't know, it went by so fast, but also some of those days were so long. Like we were saying, what is the saying? The days are long, but years are short, or
something like that.
I was trying to, I get it.
I
get it now. Because school is just early. I mean, by the time this comes out, probably everybody's school stuff has been.
Everyone should be back in school by then, right? I think, unless you've got a pre-K-er who might be starting slightly
or public
later.
School, I guess, because a lot of public school kids or not public, private school kids go back around Labor Day.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple friends I know, and I was like, oh, it actually feels like a full summer when you have June, July, and August, but it moves back earlier and earlier every freaking year. But
I knew some people who started the first week in August, the first full week in August. I was like, that seems so
excessive.
Early.
Yeah, that's not cool.
No, although I still firmly believe that we should switch to year-round schooling, but
yeah. I mean, it would depend, I guess, on the breaks. I love a good summer, but if you still had a long enough break in the summer, it would all probably even out okay, where you
I think still the way
felt
it works,
you get a good break.
I think you still get a month in the summer, and then you get 2 weeks each quarter.
Okay, then that's not terrible. I don't know. I guess I don't know. It sounds terrible right now just because we're coming off summer, and I'm like, oh, I love a long break, but it is what it is. So
Yeah. And again, disclaimer, I guess, we chat, you guys. We try not to do too much in the beginning. It's been a minute, obviously we want to catch up, but if you don't like that part and you just want to go to the, the case, just skip ahead 5 or so minutes usually, and you'll be there. We try not to do it too much, but
it's weird to just dive in and be like, oh, by the way, guess whose throat got slashed today?
Well, and my thing is I do definitely think there's a variety of people who listen to podcasts, right? I like Invisible Choir, and it's just him say the case, and that's fine. But I love a podcast where they chat a little bit and stuff, and it feels like you're just part of that. You know what I mean?
Because then you feel like you're part of the club.
Know them.
And 100%. I get it.
So if we're not that, if you don't like that and we're not that podcast for you, that's fair. But don't be dicks about it.
Yeah. Seriously, don't be dicks.
Just don't listen. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
No hard feelings.
Yeah, it's fine. But
there you go.
Yeah, okay, that's where we're at. That's the rundown. We are excited because we have some exciting things we're working on. And I mean, I guess
hopefully by the time this episode is out, we'll be close to, if not having done at least a part of it. We'll talk. We'll let y'all know what's going on. We're excited. Yeah. We got some good ideas for the rest of the year and stuff, and we're excited to get back. Everyone needs a little break, and we love our podcast, but especially when you're trying to do all the things and your kids are home, it's just so difficult sometimes.
It really is. And even when the kids are self-sufficient, it's as soon as they know you're doing something for you, then they need you, you know?
100%.
So
100%.
I would be like, yeah, it's fine. My kid's doing whatever. But if she knows that I'm doing something like this, then she needs me suddenly. So,
yep. Yeah. So, you guys, there we are. I hope you guys had a good summer. I hope you did some vacations, all the things. You know what I mean? Hopefully things are going good with you guys. So, I guess, are we ready to...
Yeah.
Right.
I know. I feel like it's been so long that it's like, what do we do? What are we doing?
Right, exactly. Well, okay, so for this week, we are going to be in Bloomington, Indiana. And so I was trying to look up things for this case, like things to watch, just to read or whatever. I will say, disclaimer, this is a newer case, but finding any details was ridiculously difficult. So
I think that's so weird with some of these new cases, because sometimes when I pick a newer case, I think this is good because there'll be so much because we have the internet and it's new. And if that's not the case, it's like they pick and choose which ones make it and get airtime, and you know.
Exactly. And yeah, listen, I'm not savvy enough to try to go down the record, find all the like court records of things and stuff either. And also reading that, like, I'm not good at reading those things.
No,
so
they're not an easy read. Yeah.
No. So I do just want to say, so one thing I saw, it said Unsolved Mysteries covered this in season 14, episode 53, but I couldn't find a good place to watch it. Because, like, you have some of those, like, when you Google those sites, are like, watch here. And I'm like, I don't know that I trust you.
I feel like this day and age, when everything you can stream, why the hell why is everything not just available, you know?
Well, and I don't understand how, like, Amazon will have, like, it had up to season 10.
Yeah.
And then it had some with this other white dude, who was like season 16 or something. I'm like, okay, I'm missing a few seasons in here. So
I know. That's what I don't get it. Like, just put it all on there, or I don't know. Or and you would think that with one of the platforms, everything, I mean, you could find something anywhere, but no. So I feel your pain, because I have gone down that road several times and ended up very irritated.
Yes. So since I couldn't find that, I did use the Unsolved Mysteries like wiki fandom page for some info. Because they tend to like summarize each episode of it, which it told me that can you hear me? Shannon? Can you hear me, Shannon? Shannon.
I can't see you or hear you.
So today I am going to talk about Jill Behrman. She was born September 17th, 1980 to Marilyn and Eric in Bloomington, Indiana. She had a brother, Brian, but I don't know if he was like younger or older. Some of the information I got was actually from like her obituary and stuff too, because like I said, this was hard to really find much of anything. But looking at her obituary, it looks like she was really a very active young woman who liked to stay busy. She did things like track and field, swimming, bike riding. She was in Girl Scouts, an active member of her church. Like, I was looking at all of her accomplishments and I was like, I'm exhausted just looking at her. It's like, it seems like she was a big part of her community, that type of stuff. She won a bunch of Right. She won a bunch of awards for things, and she was part of like 4-H and girl, like I said, she was just into a lot of that stuff. So she actually attended Indiana University and had just completed her freshman year in May of 2000. And on Wednesday, May 31st, 2000, Jill left her place at 9 a.m. for a bike ride because this was like one of her favorite ways to stay active. And so in her obituary, it said she lived in Teeter Quadrangle. So I'm assuming that's somewhere on campus. But then like later on when it kind of talks about stuff about her not coming home, like I don't know if she was living back at her parents' house for the summer. Listen, as someone who never went to college, I don't know how dorms work. Do you get to stay in them over summer, or do you have to? So that's... See, and I don't know if she was. So either way, it says she left her house at like 9 a.m. And then the last time anyone saw her, it was like a half hour later at the intersection of Harrell Road and Moffett Lane. So I'm not familiar with the area for those of you who are, but I guess this would have been in a like southerly direction from her home. And that's going to be important to remember later that she was heading towards a south direction. So later that day, Jill failed to show up for her 12 to 3 shift at the Student Recreation Center. And then she failed to meet her father and grandfather at 3 for lunch. And this was, unlike her, but when she still didn't show up at home that night, her father then called the police. So again, that's like I said, I don't know how they knew she didn't show up at home, unless maybe she is living at home now. But, it was one of those things that they called right away and they started like putting up flyers right away. And it doesn't talk much, but it seems like the police probably took this seriously, like quickly, weren't like she's 19, yeah, because it talked about how like parents started putting up flyers, volunteers came out and started helping right away. They even mapped out routes she could have taken on her bike ride. And so that was a Wednesday, like I said. By Friday, June 2nd, her bike was found. So apparently on Wednesday, a jogger noticed the bike in a cornfield near Ellettsville, which is actually 10 miles northwest of Bloomington and where Jill lived. And so he saw it and he took it home with him. Yeah, I was like, so you just jacked a bike? Like, it's a cornfield. What if it was the farmer's bike? I thought that. But anyways, so the Unsolved Mystery article says that it was like earlier Wednesday, like well before anyone knew about her disappearance. And so once he saw the news, he contacted police, who then searched the area he said he found it in. But I mean, right. Well, yeah, and his name I don't think I ever saw, but I was also like, okay, she went missing. Like, how long did it take him? Because it was Friday before anything was said. But I mean, 10 minutes away, who knows if it stayed local for a bit, you know what I mean? So they searched the area that he said he found it, but they couldn't find any other evidence. But again, like I said, this was weird because she was heading south and this is northwest. And apparently she wouldn't have ever taken this route because it would have taken her directly through the town traffic. And she wouldn't have done that. So another source, which was, I don't know, it was, like I said, it was hard. The Indy Star, I have all the sites I used will be linked in the show notes. But the Indy Star was one that I used because it was the one that I could find the most details. But the way they wrote some of the stuff like was still not very many details. And I was like, okay. I know. Yeah, no, I know, I was surprised. So they actually had an article that talked about it, but then they also have one that just like gives the bullet point timelines. So, I guess it said that on Friday, June 3rd, I don't think that was Friday, I think that would have been Saturday, police suspended the search for Jill because of the lack of leads. So Jill's parents, right? I don't know, it still also seems quick. Like, yeah, you found her bike.
Yeah, it'd be different if this had been an ongoing thing.
Yeah, or like even a week, maybe,
Like if her bike was found that far away from the area she was going, like that gives you way more area to search, you know what I mean? The whole in between. But
And I should have looked up to see how big Bloomington is. Like, I'm not 100% sure. It's got a college in it, so it's
yeah,
gotta be
I think it's decent.
decent.
Yeah.
So that, was confusing. But Jill's parents, university officials, and like other people put forth a $25,000 reward for any information.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, they double it to $50, and then it goes all the way up to $100,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So then on June 6th, the FBI gets involved. And then in November, a show called $1 Million Mysteries. I've never heard of that.
That's a new one to me.
They featured Jill's story, which led to 50 calls to the police and FBI. I'm also going to note kind of, because again, like I said, with the fact that there being so little information and the sources that I have, like Indy Star feels like it should be a good journalist site, but also feels very small town journalism.
Yeah.
So like some of this information I'm not 100% sure on, but it talks about how 3 days later, and I'm not sure, and so this is from the Unsolved Mysteries site. I don't know if it means 3 days after she went missing or after her bike was found. A digital radio was found neatly placed in the parking lot of a church, and it was believed to be Jill's. And another churchgoer said that they saw a dark-colored truck speed out of the parking lot around the same time. It also mentions an attempted abduction in Ellettsville of an 18-year-old woman who was walking past an older truck around 10:30 p.m. a couple weeks after Jill's disappearance, and a man tried to grab her. But like Unsolved Mysteries at that point, when that aired, there wasn't a resolution. And so it seems like they also thought that there was an attempted kidnapping in Kentucky that they thought was connected to Jill's case.
Okay.
But like the Indy Journal-Star, like nothing else I could see mentioned even the Ellettsville attempt or Kentucky. So, you know, I don't know.
Interesting.
Especially because when it comes out about who this is, I could see the Ellettsville one being a potential connection from the same person, but I don't know if they had a dark trial. So, on April 18th, 2001, police and FBI announced that they have a new theory on Jill's case. And at this point now, we are at almost a year since Jill's been missing. No body's been found or anything like that, just her bike. So they think someone may have hit her while she was riding her bike, even though there was really no damage to her bike. So then it was like, well, maybe she stepped off her bike and was fixing it. But they think that maybe they panicked and moved her bike and her body to cover it up.
Okay, that's feasible. I mean,
yeah. But then in April of 2002, so a whole other year later, so now we're at almost 2 years since her disappearance, the police and FBI get a tip from a woman named Wendy Owings, who said she and another woman were riding in the car of Uriah J. Klaus when he struck Jill. She told police that Klaus then stabbed Jill in the chest, wrapped her in a tarp, and secured it with bungee cords before tossing her body in the Salt Creek. Like near there.
Well, I was gonna say that seemed like a pretty quick, like right off though, too. Like, yeah, she got hit. Okay, it sounds like they just didn't want to think that anything foul play related happened as far as like kidnapping her. But then maybe that's interesting. But why stab her if you hit her already? Just to
make sure she's dead, so she can't. But like at that point, if they were alive and you took them to the hospital, like you're not. You might have reckless driving charges. But so the Timeline article mentions that on April 3rd, 2002, there was a scour, like the police scoured Salt Creek for clues due to a tip, which I'm assuming is from this woman. And then on the 10th, it announces that police announced Klaus as a suspect. And he was an inmate at the time for something else. And I had to go look up. Apparently it was for felony battery on a police officer resulting in bodily harm, and attempted battery with bodily waste, which I didn't look up what the bodily waste was. I'm just gonna say that he was like trying to spit on the police officer, because I know you can sometimes, like with just being spitting on people, you can call it assault.
Yeah, totally.
So that's what I'm gonna tell myself.
Yeah, because hope it's that and not something else that could be.
So despite the confession from Wendy and his incarceration already for, assault, essentially, he was never charged with the murder of Jill. And in fact, like, he always denied it, and later Wendy would actually retract her confession.
Well, that's a pretty like detailed story to make up. And what's the point of making it up if
he was in for battery, if he was battering her and she was afraid of him and wanted him in longer, she was pissed or something like that. Like,
were they dating or what? Like, was there...
I don't know for sure. But like,
I mean, yeah, that makes sense though. If that was the case, keep him in, throw away the key. Like,
So throughout 2002, police searched the Salt Creek area, and in August, they said they found items they believed to be evidence. And then in September, they build temporary dams so they can actually like really scour the bottom of the creek. And they say evidence removed supports a new theory that Jill was alive when she was taken to the creek bed. But
Has the unsolved mystery thing, had it aired by this time? Or
not? I'm trying to think with that one. I
just wonder how early on it aired. You know what I mean? Or how long this was. Okay, go ahead.
I'm not 100% sure on that one. And what's funny is like, so we have these things in the timeline. No evidence is ever brought up, like what they found to make them think. And as we come out later, like when it comes back later, it's like, what made you like it? It makes me question how good of police work was being done.
Right.
Because, so,
what evidence would show that? I mean, I'm trying to think logically what would prove that she was alive.
Well, right. And also, if Wendy's confession had been true, they should have found her body. Well, I guess the creek, you wouldn't think. Creeks are smaller, right? I feel like we've been over this before. So you wouldn't think her body would have gone that far.
No.
That they should have found something.
In this huge timeline here. Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? Okay. I guess, yeah. I don't know what they found. Who knows? But
if they actually found anything, or they're just, twiddling their thumbs because they don't know.
Right. Or they found things like creek beds. People lose shit in creeks all the, you know what I mean?
How do they necessarily know it's hers? I mean, like, you could find something random and it could belong to anybody.
Exactly.
And being in the water and stuff too, depending on how long it's been in there and like things, it could have been corroded and
Yep. Okay. A lot of questions I have. But by December of 2002, police then hand over like thousands of documents to prosecutors detailing their investigation.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, then it takes until March 9th of 2003. So now we're close to 3 years after Jill's disappearance. A hunter in the woods of Morgan County near Worthen and Duckworth Roads found human remains, and this is also near Ellettsville. So he finds human remains. A few days later, it was confirmed that these were the remains of Jill. And the thing is there was nothing else there, like no clothes, there was no soft tissue, there were no knife wounds, or any evidence of blunt force trauma.
Remains?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And so there's no knife wounds, so we know Wendy was lying. There's no evidence of blunt force trauma, so we know she wasn't hit by a car.
Yeah. I hate that when it's been that long too. But go ahead.
Yeah. But the fact that there was no fragments of clothes or anything near her, like even if animals had gone to her, there should be some clothes.
Right.
And so they never go into it, but and in all the articles I see, the only thing is a brief mention that the prosecution brings up in the suspect's trial that they believe he sexually assaulted her. But that was the only area I saw. And they don't technically have proof, but the fact that she was most likely
and she wasn't
dumped
clothed,
naked, yes. So what they do find were pellets and wadding that are typical of a 12-gauge shotgun. So that, along with their like she has skull fragments, so like the back of her skull is broken and there are fragments in and around her. They believe that she was taken to the spot, shot with a 12-gauge shotgun gun, and just left there. And so in all of this time, there are still other suspects and leads, but it isn't until March 13th of 2006 that the Morgan County grand jury begins to investigate Jill's disappearance and murder. And so I don't understand.
What took so long?
Right. And I don't fully understand how you go from police and FBI to a grand jury and what they have to do. Like if they have to go over evidence to determine we think this is the suspect that we can indict.
Yeah.
I don't know. But by April 9th of 2006, police arrest John Myers II, who was 30 and lived in Morgan County, and he's indicted on the charge of murder by the grand jury.
Who's homeboy here? Yeah.
Yeah. So, according to the Indy Star article, apparently Myers had been on the police's radar from pretty much the beginning. So much so that police actually questioned him and his parents in June of 2000.
That early on and nothing? Wow.
Yes. So he would have been like 24 at the time. He lived in Ellettsville, just 1 mile from where Jill's bike had been found.
Oh, I was gonna say what linked him to, or what brought him up.
Well, yeah, and this is the thing.
Once again, yeah.
They still never say. Okay, I'm gonna get into it, and then I'll talk about my. Okay, so
yeah, you're good. I'll shut up.
No, you're fine. I get it. Because while I was researching this case, I'm like, where did this dude, like, what?
Right. He just comes out of nowhere, and the fact that they actually have suspected him from the very beginning, it's like, but why? Like,
and why did it take 6 years then?
No shit. So what, he's been living his best life for 6 years, and why was he even on the radar, and why did they not look into him further? And so many things. But go on.
Yes. So apparently on the day she went missing, people reported seeing a white van in the area, and Myers had access to one through work.
It's always a white van.
I know. But I'm like, okay, well, clearly nothing came up of that. But then in 2001, he called the FBI to say he'd found some women's underwear and a bone in some bushes near where he was fishing and thought it would be helpful in Jill's case. Now, it didn't say whether this was actually one of Jill's bones or not.
Okay.
But I'm like, okay.
That's interesting.
So then in 2002, Myers was in Monroe County Jail on unrelated charges. And I did try to look this up. And so then I came across another site that I'm not linking because it was a hot mess. That, like, I was trying to find it. It said, I don't know how legit this site was called. It was called the Reporter Times. And the article was written as it was like just like one long, like, there were, I don't want to say run on sentence, but there was no breakdown. There was no good, like, it was just like word vomit. You know what I mean? It was just like they threw out a bunch of shit. I was like, okay. But it seems like he had a history of assault on, like, his mom and dad, some brothers. He had 2 women who had filed protective orders against him. So in 2002, I guess he's in for that and for receiving stolen items. So whatever, it wasn't for Jill's murder when he was in jail. But while he was there, he told a correctional officer that he found letters on food trays that contained information about Jill's disappearance. And he also apparently compiled a list of potential places of where evidence could be found about her case.
Interesting.
Yeah. But again, I'm like, this is 2002. How did it take us till 2006 then?
Right. That's what I don't understand, especially if he's, like, making a point of inserting himself, like, into this and, like, you know, what was the holdup? Did they just not believe him? Either way, like, you have to take that shit seriously because you just don't know.
Right.
People have families, like, come on.
Yeah, and so, like I said, the Indy Star, even the way it was written, all it said was, like, after it mentions him being arrested, it said, investigators later concluded that Myers killed Behrman because his girlfriend broke up with him and he was angry. Like, that's it. That's all it says about it. And I was like, we don't even, like, I couldn't even find, like, what the prosecution's theory is of what happened. You know what I mean? Like, they think he saw her. Was it, did he know her?
Opportunity? Was
it an opportunity? You know,
stalking her, and he knew she took that bike route. Like, a lot of unanswered questions. It's interesting.
Yeah, so like I said, he was arrested in April of 2006, and by October 2006, he's convicted, which to me seems so quick. I feel like cases like this, it's usually like a year before the trial even happens.
Goes to trial. Yeah.
And I'm like,
it took him so long to even
arrest
him. That's kind of crazy that then all of a sudden they're, like, in a hurry.
Right.
Cool, but
I'm like, also I was like, am I just like, do I just not remember how quickly trials could happen? Because after COVID, it feels like everything takes like 2 years or more.
I know. We're living in the post-COVID times now, so it's hard to remember the before.
Yeah, so I don't really know, but either way, October 2006, he's convicted of murdering Jill. It's all it said. It said convicted of murder. I don't know, 1st degree murder, 2nd degree, what?
Right. I'm surprised there's not more information on that, especially being that it was a big case and being on Unsolved Mysteries, which is a very well-known, I mean, like, that's a big case.
Exactly. But he was sentenced to 65 years in prison.
He didn't even get like life or any. I mean, he's probably old enough by the time. Well, no, you said he was 20s,
30,
right?
Well, no. By the time he was arrested, he was 30.
Oh,
So,
well,
but
still,
he'd be 95. I mean,
yeah. Some people live that long, but like,
yeah. But that's actually not the end of the case.
Oh,
not
gosh.
quite. I know. So, in September of 2019, a district court overturned his conviction.
Oh.
Because Myers had filed a habeas petition, which is when someone in prison can like petition a judge to look at their case and determine if they've been detained legally. And that's just me super summarizing that, right? Okay, they'd had other things, but that's what we need to know for this point, okay?
Yeah.
One of the arguments being that he had ineffective counsel, which a judge agreed with. Apparently, his attorney made false statements in his opening statement, which I don't know what it was, but as well as not objecting when prosecutors brought up the theory that Myers sexually assaulted Jill, despite there being no evidence at all to support that. I mean, she was naked, clearly, but...
Yeah. I mean, highly likely, but yeah.
Right. So what this meant was that prosecutors now had 120 days to decide if they were going to retry Myers, which could be a very costly thing in, you know, both time and money. Otherwise, he'd be released.
Oh, gosh.
So his new attorney tried to actually speed up his release. How, like, he even, like, used, like, COVID as a thing, but somehow, like, the attorney general, they kept getting it blocked until finally... The attorney general finally successfully appealed the habeas petition, and actually in October of 2023, the Indiana Attorney General secured Myers' continued incarceration because another U.S. district court denied his habeas petition now.
Oh.
So I don't know if after it was granted, if it's then appealed, or if it's then like, okay, this one did, but now another one has to before it can go through. I don't know, but either way, like I said, information is lacking, but it appears that Myers is still in prison.
I hope so. That's so shitty. Like,
right. Although I will say in this case, and I know we've talked about before how circumstantial evidence can still be enough to convict, but in this case, I feel like they have such vague circumstantial evidence that
there's really nothing tying him to it, right?
No, because now I'm not saying that I think he's innocent.
Right.
I think it's probably likely that he did, and even if let's say he somehow didn't kill Jill, there's no way he wouldn't have eventually led up to that.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised that he got, and maybe that's why he only got 65 years, because, you know, they had such little, but I'm like, okay, how many people, like, so many people have access to a white van, you know what I mean? Like,
that's true, because that's really only the fact that he lived close to where the bike was dropped.
Yes.
Right? Is that really the only things they're going off of?
Well, and him inserting himself into it, but how many people do that? You know what I mean? Like, there are people who do that because they want to feel like they're part of something, mental illness. Yes, we have, like, inmates and prisoners who will say that just so they can get other things, you know, and everything like that. So, like I said, I think it's likely it was him. I am just a bit surprised that with how flimsy everything seems, that he was arrested and convicted. But I also wonder, is there information that we don't have that is, like, if I had gone through all the court records, I maybe would have found that would have been like, okay, yeah, like, this is still circumstantial, but it's still better than what you have.
They would release that to solidify their own case, and so have more backup on it. You know what I mean? Just so.
And I mean, like I said, maybe they did, and it's just information is so hard to find, and I would have to go into, like, police records and court case information that I can't read well. So
I know. That's so sad. Well, and it's hard when they find the body in, you know, what state it's in, because then that doesn't leave a lot of DNA and that kind of thing to even go off of.
Exactly.
So that really sucks. I mean, maybe you said this, like, did they even say if he had a gun that matched? No, like, we don't even know that.
No clue.
I was like, I don't think.
No clue.
So weird.
That weird site that I said I saw while he was in jail talked about how he was ranting to his family. Like, apparently he assaulted his parents because they wouldn't watch his child, which that was the only thing I ever saw about him having a child. And he claimed that if he was going to be arrested and go to jail, it would be for murder. But like, again, like one I didn't really want to talk about because
illness and
right. And, you know, there's such a lack of information, like I said, in this case. And maybe there is something. I just hope it sounds like Jill's family does believe Myers is responsible. And while nothing can bring their daughter back, hopefully him being in jail helps them and brings them closure.
Right. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I mean, and it's like for their own sake, like, yeah, you want justice to be served, but like at this point too, if someone else really did do it and is just out there, but they think it's Myers, then who cares really? You know what I mean? Like at that point, like if they can move on, that's really what truly matters, I think. And I mean, but it's sad if there's an innocent man in prison. I mean, there's all that. So
yeah. But again, like I said, I don't think he's very innocent. I think he probably would have, and I get that we shouldn't put people in jail for what they'll probably do, but I also think we should have, I mean, how many people have we seen not get what they should for like rape charges and stuff, and then they are released?
Well, and it sounds like he would have put himself in there anyway if it wasn't for this. So not like, justifying anything, but I think
but
that's sad. I really am surprised that there's not more information on that because that's kind of like a crazy one.
Well, especially with the fact that it was just September of last year, it was just last October last year where they were finally like, no, you are staying in jail. This is going to be upheld. Like, how does it not have so much more? But so I guess any of our listeners, if you're from the area and you do know more information and details, reach out, email us, let us know, message us on Facebook, Instagram. Because I would be curious and I would obviously do an update, and let people know. Yeah. Huh. So that is that's our first case back.
Yay.
From our break.
That was a goodie. So cool. Well, thanks for doing that one.
Yeah. I will say if y'all haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine and you're into that stuff, go see it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I heard it's amazing.
Oh my god, the best.
Yeah, I just love anything that Ryan Reynolds is in, regardless. But
I've seen it twice. I would go see it a third time.
I haven't seen any of the Deadpool movies. I know. I get yelled at by this every day by my brother. But
I'm pretty sure the first one's on HBO Max and the second one is on Disney Plus.
I know I have access to them all. I just am like, nah. But
no, you need to go watch them. Go watch them. Not someday. I'm gonna come over and we're gonna watch the first one, and then we'll spend another day and we'll watch the second one. Or maybe we'll binge them one day and then we can go and watch it before it's not in theaters.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see it. So
they're fantastic. I love them. So
okay. That's
you guys.
I don't think there's anything else.
No. You guys, right now we don't have a website. So that's still in the show notes. But otherwise, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, go follow us.
Yeah, you can still email us or message us on those things.
Yes. Like, rate, review, follow, do all those things. Please share whatever you can do to help us get out there. We have discovered we have made some changes to where we're hosting our podcast and stuff, and so now we're still trying to get things figured out, you guys. So
it's a learning experience.
It is. And if you come across a thing, like, we are aware, for anyone who's new and maybe goes back to listen to the old stuff, right now we are currently missing episodes 1 through 4. Hopefully by the time this comes out, we won't be, but
yeah, I'm trying to figure that out
just in case. We are aware. But because we have switched hosting sites, I might even post something on our socials being like, hey, if this episode's not out on this day, please reach out. I try to check, but sometimes it's hard to remember places to check.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you guys ever notice that hey, I typically listen here and it's not showing, reach out to us, please. Let us know, because I would rather know and have someone else tell me too than not know, and it's just
easier
think
to fix earlier on.
So, yes. So yeah, you guys, that's where we're at for today. So until next time, stay Heartland kind
and Darkland wary.